Our lead story, what is likely to happen to Hillary Clinton? Joining us from Washington, Charles Krauthammer. So you said last week the email story has long legs, and I agree that it's not going to go away because, you know, Republicans are going to see it as a way to damage Hillary Clinton, and I think most of the folks really want to know what the real story is. But aren't you insulted the way I am about the State Department after 14 days can't tell you whether she signed this piece of paper or not? I mean, this is just insane, is it not?
It's the 1990s all over again. This is what the Clintons did on every scandal, every issue, every embarrassment in the 90s. They dragged it out, and when you drag it out long enough, I mean, you lie directly to the American people on the Lewinsky scandal, but you drag it out, you stonewall, you accuse her of being a stalker, and 6 months later, when you confess, as the president did, it's already old news, and you get away with it. That's been the modus vivendi. Now, why the State Department of Obama would conspire in this is a puzzle.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
I mean,
because
John
it's
Kerry,
it's not in their interest. But eventually, they're going to have to say one way or the other, and the stonewall's not going to work. And the reason it's got legs is this. Normally, a scandal depends on the interest of the public, which in and of itself is a reflection of the interest of the media. The media would not necessarily go after a Democrat or a leading one like a Clinton on its own. But here there's something different. You're going to have lawsuits brought by Judicial Watch, which is an entity that has revealed a lot of this stuff already earlier. You're going to have a lawsuit that was filed last week by the Associated Press under the Freedom of Information Act. You're going to have 3 separate committees of Congress issuing subpoenas. So those are going to keep the story going. It may not be a story every day going on from now on in the medium term, but it will not go away. It will keep popping up as these subpoenas and lawsuits go public and get to a crisis between now and Election Day.
But isn't it mysterious?
That's why she can't dodge it.
Isn't it mysterious that a very simple question about signing a piece of paper that says you handed over all your stuff to the government before leaving as Secretary of State? We can't get an answer for 2 weeks on that, and Mrs. Clinton just kind of throws it off. Why wouldn't she say, no, I signed it, I didn't sign it, or yes, I signed it, and here's why? I mean, what, do they think they're going to get away with it? I know they want to drag it out. I know. But it's a news cycle now that's very intense, and anybody can bring back anything at any time and throw it right in the public's face. So, I mean, why don't you just get it over with?
Well, it leads your program. It should be leading other programs. But did you see it today on the front page of the Times or the Washington Post or leading the other networks? No. It isn't as if you can't get away with it if you drag it out long enough. And I suspect that she can't say, I signed it, because if she did, she is guilty of perjury. This is a pretty big deal.
So she didn't sign it. That's what I said to Henry. She didn't sign it. I don't think she signed it.
If she didn't sign it, then Obama State Department has to explain why they allow her. Well, as the Jen Psaki said, she's not a regular employee, meaning she, like the Clintons, is above and beyond and the reach of the law. She's in her own universe where the rules don't apply. And the Obama administration would have conspired with her in not applying the rule that everybody has to sign a separation agreement.
Well, so what about the Inspector General of the State Department? Isn't that person supposed to really run herd over all of this crazy stuff? Should the Inspector General come out tomorrow and say, look, she didn't sign it or she did sign it?
Have you seen Inspector Generals running herd over other departments? Whatever happened to the IRS scandal? That was Inspector General.
Well, that was, yeah, but that halted on the Fifth Amendment, halted that. Fifth Amendment halted that whole thing, and then they wouldn't waive any penalty for Lerner so that she didn't have to testify. That was another strange thing. But you know what I'm talking about, because you're smarter than I am, just a little. But you know, you have that PhD, and I only have 2 master's degrees, so you're just a little bit ahead of me. But you know, Bo Bergdahl. Look, I mean, they know what Bergdahl did. They're just stonewalling. What do they think? It's going to be better for them when they announce it in May than announcing it now? I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it, Krauthammer.
look, to prove your point about smartness, you didn't even get the biography right. I don't have a PhD.
A medical degree. Don't you have some degree that gets, I have to talk to doctor, or I get slapped?
I've got an MD.
An MD.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Now, look, because of the disparity here, I'll try to make it simple, and I'll talk slowly.
Good.
With the Bergdahl thing, they know where they have to go. The Army knows where it has to go. The administration does not want it to go to a court-martial, and they are either negotiating among themselves or, again, stonewalling, thinking that people won't care. You drag it out long enough, and you could drag it out into the next administration if you have to.
Oh.
But I'm sure they are trying to get the Army to, in a sense, knuckle under, cave into its own principles, and to find a way to dump this guy without a court-martial. That's, I'm sure, what's going on now.
Well, they've already gotten the Army to stonewall it, because the Army knows. They already succeeded there, and our armed forces are not supposed to be politicized. Okay, we're going to hold Charles over with more brilliance to talk about the Iranian nuke mess, and it is a mess. And later, Megyn Kelly.